What's on, where and when. It's the Talk of Nelson. Talk Nelson Radio.
Hi there, it's Izzy Whitley from ALH Recruitment. Searching for new people can be a hassle, going through CVs, lack of quality people, and repeating the cycle for months. So forget the hassle with ALH Recruitment. ALH Recruitment makes your job easy. We connect hardworking people with skill sets that best fit your unique business needs, with temporary and permanent opportunities. So just take a deep breath, go to ALH.NZ and let us do the mahi for you. ALH Recruitment. Connect with hardworking people today.
Welcome to Football Focus Episode 8, where we cover all things football in the top of the South. I'm Chris Butler, and welcome back to my co-host, Paul Brydon. G'day, Bridie.
Christopher, how are you?
Good. And our very special guest is Phil Thompson, who is president of FC Nelson. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, big news. This week, we're very proud to welcome our first show sponsor to the show. And today, this episode is brought to you by ALH. ALH is one of the leading recruitment agencies in Nelson. Across 11 locations in New Zealand, they connect hardworking people with opportunities and support businesses with a unique recruitment and labour hire needs. They pride themselves on finding the right people for the job and ensuring they put their people first, both clients and candidates, every step of the way. They are passionate about giving back to the communities that they serve. ALH is at 58 Bridge Street, Nelson, and you can find out more at ALH.NZ. And hopefully next week we'll be catching up with ALH local representative Corey Vickers on the show. So thanks very much, Corey and the ALH team. Great to have you on board. On this week's show, we talk senior men's and women's local premiership, Southern League men's and women's overseas news, the FIFA Women's World Cup, and we catch up with Phil about his huge, massive, successful football career and of course being the president of the mighty FC Nelson. First of all, though, let's get into Nelson Pine Senior Women's Premiership. And this week, the draw, we've got the Golden Bay Shield Maidens at home to Nelson Suburbs FC Reserves. And the Shield Maidens, mate, they had a draw with the Diamonds. So after everyone picking the Diamonds, the Shield Bay...
Did they?
Well, that's what it says on the draw.
That's what the website said. Phil, can you enlighten me? That's match team.
I do believe it was 2-2 was the result. 2-0 down, 2-2.
Really?
What a great result that is. So Phil will be jumping for joy and he'll be saying, told you, I told you, never underestimate us. And the reserves beat Motueka 3-0. Sorry to you.
You've got to go with the Maidens there, don't you, this week? That's an amazing result for them last week. Obviously, travelling over the hill against a FC Thompson Diamonds side that's pretty well organised. Matt's got them fit, and to get a point, that's a great result. So I would say at home, I would go the Maidens.
Yes, they've been playing pretty well lately, haven't they? And making a late run in the season. Motueka AFC Angels taking on the Mapua Cougars, and the Mapua Cougars 5-2 against the Wahine last week, and the Motueka Angels going down 3-0 to Nelson Suburbs. So Phil Thompson, what do you think?
Having looked at it, Motueka Angels struggled a bit this year. Mapua Cougars, good team, 3-0 away win.
Away win, okay. Nelson Diamonds have the bye, and the Swans are taking on Sprig and Fern Tahuna Breakers, and the Breakers had the bye last week, but also had that Sunday game against Hot How Creative Foxes. Now, apparently that got called off early for a broken arm on the Tahuna side. Yeah. Is that right?
I haven't heard anything about that. It was 1-0, though, the score at one stage.
Well, two things I heard. One was Slotsy were telling them one-touch finish. And the second thing is that Tahuna had someone that broke their arm and they ended the game early. Is that?
I think it was about right. I think. Yeah. 5 or 6-0, I think it was.
Oh, was it? Right. Okay. Right. Okay. So who are we picking for the Swans and Tahuna Breakers?
You'd have to go the Swans there. That's at home against the Breakers, who've been quite competitive this year, but I think Swans on their day.
Yeah.
Depending who's available. full strength, they should win that. But pretty close.
Yeah.
I'd say Swans by 3.
Swans by 3. You like that 3-0. Yeah. Okay, so the standings, we've got Hothouse Foxes well in the lead, really. We've got the Nelson Diamonds, and then we've got, not far behind, only 1 point in it, Suburbs Reserves. So that'll be interesting to see how that finishes up. Nelson Pine Men's Premiership Division 1. We've got FC Locomotive taking on Nelson Suburb Seals. The Locomotive had a draw with Richmond. Not quite the win they're looking for, but that's still a pretty good result. And the Seals last week, now I believe that might have been a default.
They defaulted, yeah.
They defaulted. So Motueka get the 3-0 win because of that. What are we thinking, Phil?
I think it's going to be a draw, and I might even put money on Loco scoring a goal. So I'd say 1-1.
1-1.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. So you're not picking their first win of the season.
No, I hear that Gary Calderbank is kicking the ball around. Who knows?
Right.
He played last week.
Yeah. Last minute, Gary Calderbank 1-1.
Right. Oh, there you go. Okay, we've got. Well, we better give this one to you, Phil, because we've got Sheehan Financial FC Nelson taking on Fresh Choice Richmond at Guppy Park. So,
to be fair, they played fabulously well, didn't they? Richmond in their home game earlier on in the season.
Yes,
I'd say it'll be a struggle. It might. I hope it's not a draw, but I think it might be 1-1.
Is that right? Geez, likes his draws, either 3-0 or 1-0. You had a good win 4-0 against Sprig and Fern Tahuna, Bridie. That seemed to go all right.
Well, it wasn't easy. We took a while to settle down. The first 15, we could have been 2 or 3 down, to be honest. We weren't we weren't tight enough, to be honest, in midfield. And in fact, they had a chance after about 2 minutes. And young Jasper and goal made a really good save.
Yeah.
And they got behind us a couple of times, but then we scored after about 20 minutes, and then we sort of took the momentum a bit out of Tahuna. But look, they did all right, and it wasn't easy, but our finishing in the end got us through.
Okie dokes. And so Phil reckons it's going to be a close game because Richmond playing all right. What are your thoughts? Do you think?
Yeah, look, it's do or die now, isn't it? It's really come to this. Richmond can be a bit of a banana skin team. They sort of, as Phil said, out at Jubilee Park, they're a bit unlucky not to get something out of it. And I know full well they'll be up for it this week.
Apparently they're a bit short against the Loco.
Clay was 12th man, I think. So, but I guarantee they'll turn up with all guns blazing this week. Look, it won't be easy. We'll just see what numbers are like at training night. We had a few missing last week. Chris Main wasn't there. We had to move a few people around, but we'll see who turns up to training tonight. And
Garden Motueka taking on Nelson Suburbs Reserves. So Motueka got the default win, and the Reserves just went down to Rangers 4-3. So what are your thoughts on that, Phil?
Again, Mott they started well this year. I thought they were going to be a lot stronger, to be fair. I thought they were going to be pushing for the top of the table. They seem to have dropped away. Depends again, Suburbs, whether the Southern League team are at home or away and which players have gone. I won't call it a draw. I like the boys from Mott. I give them Mott 3-2.
3-2. Close games. He likes his close games. We've got Sprig and Fern Tahuna taking on Rangers. So this will be interesting. Rangers, of course, getting the win just over Reserves, 4-3. And Sprig and Fern Tahuna, of course, you played, and it looks like a fairly comprehensive win there. So what are your thoughts?
Well,
Tahuna at home.
Yeah, Rangers got to come over the hill. They've got to play out Tahuna. Look, we had a beer with the Tahuna boys last week. They'll certainly be up for it. They did have a few missing. So hopefully they're full strength this week. Look, anything can happen out there. It's not an easy ground to play on. But I think as Rangers have got too much to play for, and I'm picking them to win. But look, I think it'll be closer, a lot closer than people think. So the thing about it is, from our point of view, we can't lose the league this weekend if we lost to Richmond, but we can certainly win it.
Right. Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's it's not the end of the world if we don't get over Richmond this week.
Yeah.
Because we've got Rangers at home next week. So
Rangers just ahead on goal difference. Is that right? So you're going to.
Well, the 4-0 last week helped us.
Yeah.
4-3 result they had. So I think they're 2+. So look.
Yeah, 2+.
Yeah. So. Oh, look, we're just after the 3 points this week, and hopefully Tuna might be able to do something there down at Tahuna. So who knows?
Top 3, we've got FC Nelson on 36, the Rangers just behind on 33, and the reserves, well, a bit down the ladder on 22. So really it's the top 2. It's going to maybe come down to that final catch-up game, isn't it? So it's going to be very interesting. Southern League Women, and the only 2 games this weekend. Nelson Suburbs taking on Coastal Spirit. And again, Nelson City finding it difficult going down 4-0 to Dunedin City. So have you had a chance to see any of the Suburbs girls' games?
Yeah, I have actually. I've popped down and watched a couple of games or the ends of games. They play well. They've obviously gone to another level playing in that Southern League rather than playing the mainland. You struggled a bit. It's good to see. I've always challenged the idea of why the Richmond Foxes weren't some way involved in this. I think that's sad. But looking at the way they play, I think it's good for women's football and female football. Just got to keep it going.
Yep. Against Coastal Spirit.
Is that who they got this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they lost at home, didn't they? I think that was early in the season. They lost 6-0, was it?
Yeah.
Look, it's going to be difficult.
Although Coastal Spirit only beat University of Canterbury 2-1.
Yeah. Look, as we said, Geezer's got a young squad there. I think they've punched well above their weight. And as Phil alluded to, it's great that we've got a team competing in this league. Great opportunities for young girls that want to aspire to play a high level of football in Nelson. We haven't had that before. And Suburbs are providing that. And it's great. It's like my daughter, she's 15, 16, and she's quite a good player. And so, there's something for her if she wants to do it. But she's also into her music. So, but there's that opportunity. So without it, we wouldn't have anything else. So, but I see they lost 4-0 to Dunedin City. Yeah, what we said last week, it's going to be a big ask going down there against a good experienced side. So, but look,
good luck to them.
Yeah, good luck.
University of Canterbury taking on Kashmir Tech, and Canterbury, just going down to Coastal. So they played a good game. Kashmir Tech beating Otago 4-1. So probably have to favour Cash Tech there, wouldn't you?
I'd say so.
Yeah, English Park. So the top 3, Kashmir Tech, Dunedin City Royals doing well, and Coastal Spirit not far behind. Nelson still looking for a result. The Southern League men, there was only one result last week. That was the catch-up game, Nomads versus Dunedin City. That was 1-1. The draw for this weekend, Christchurch United taking on Ferrymead.
Wow, yes. Christchurch United, they made the Chatham Cup semi-finals. They beat Hamilton Wanderers last week away 3-0.
Yeah, right.
So that's a great result for them.
Yeah.
They are turning into one of the top clubs in New Zealand, without a doubt. Chatham Cup semi-finals, that's no mean feat, that. Which I think they're going to play Melville, I think. I'm not too sure. So, look, they'll beat Ferrymead. I watched Ferrymead a couple of weeks ago against Suburbs. I was a bit disappointed with them. I didn't think they played that well. Suburbs had been going through a bit of a bad patch and won the game 2-1 in the end. So Christchurch United all the way here.
Green Island taking on Nomads, and they are fairly evenly placed on the table, but Green Island playing at home.
Well, Green Island came here and put 5 past Suburbs on that Matariki weekend. We had a friendly at Saxons and we watched the second half, and I saw it all unfold. Tidy. Not a bad side. Considering they were 3-1 down, they came back and beat Suburbs 5-4. And if they play like that, they'll definitely beat Nomads. There's no problem there.
Nomads going all right against Dunedin City, actually 1-1. So it'll be an interesting match. FC 20 taking on Dunedin City. So FC not travelling.
Relegated.
Yeah, right.
They're going down, I believe. And I think Neil and Skippy alluded that a while ago. They said that they're probably out of that bunch down the bottom, that FC 20 just sort of
a wee bit off the mark. So you pick the Royals there.
Kashmir Tech against Selwyn.
Tech.
Yeah. And Phil, have you had a chance to watch the lads?
No.
No.
I don't think I watched the game, to be honest.
Yeah. So Nelson Suburbs taking on Coastal Spirit. Coastal Spirit travelling pretty well at the moment. And Nelson Suburbs, although got a good result the week before, they just, they do all the work, they get there, but just that last part of the game, they.
Well, the trouble with Suburbs is that they've lost Corey Larson. He's off to Melbourne, I believe. He's gone. Right. They lost Connor Gillespie. He's gone to Wellington. Young Sam Shelling's gone to the States. Yeah. Lucas Hogg's got a groin injury. So they're starting to test their depth out there. So, not easy for them. Coastal Spirit, they beat them 5-0. I watched that game completely. Actually, probably one of their better performances of the year, to be honest. They actually carved them up. So down there will be a different story, especially with cold weather. It's cold today. So I don't know where they play. Linfield Park. Yeah. When I played out there, the pitch was terrible years and years ago. So it won't be easy. So I think if they can go down there and get something out of it, they'll be more than happy, Chris.
Good luck to them. Christchurch United well in advance. You'd have to say that they're going through to National League. Kashmir Tech in second, but not far behind Coastal Spirit. So it's going to be a race for that second position. Overseas news and Manchester City.
Yep.
So Manchester City have agreed a €90 million fee for right back with Leipzig.
Yeah.
Now, so that's from RB Leipzig for Croatian defender Josko Gvardiol.
Very good.
Is that right? I've got it.
Well said, Chris.
Well done, mate.
It's a mouthful.
Now, is he 21?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's done it again. I think he's got a habit, Pat, of finding the very best before they're very, very good. And he's going to take this guy in, teach him how to play. He'll probably release Laporte. The couple of the centre-backs will go, and this is part of the next generation. I think it's another classic Pep move.
So do you know anything about this guy? Yeah, right.
I think he's
obviously good.
Yeah. He's been eyeballed as probably the best in Europe.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Good boy.
Former Italian goalkeeper and World Cup winner, Gianluigi
Buffon
or Buffon.
Retired.
However, he's retired at 45. So quite a character in the World Cup, wasn't he? When they won the World Cup.
Well, he's a legend, really. The guy just kept on playing. He kept on training. I was watching a documentary about him. He just loved the game. He loved training, and I think that's the key to success as you get older. If you can keep doing the work and
won many titles with Juventus.
Yes, he obviously enjoys it because as you get older, the drag of training and going again. But
45.
Yeah,
there's still hope for us.
Yeah. Exactly.
He could open the bowling for England.
Yeah, he could. Defender Levi Colwill, who's an English under-21, has signed a new 6-year deal with Chelsea with an option for a further year. So, I mean, that was a good side, wasn't it, that played the under-21s?
Yeah, and I think Chelsea is starting to look stronger and stronger. He's got rid of a few of the has-beens and the glory boys, and he's obviously focusing on the young fellas. And there's a rumour about Mbappe 1 year.
Really? So not going to Saudi Arabia?
Not going to Saudi Arabia. A couple of quid, go to Chelsea for a year and then go to Real Madrid.
Yeah, well, I watched them on that American tour and they looked sharp, actually.
They did. And that's what I was just going to bring up because Chelsea win the 2023 Premier League Summer Series. They beat Fulham 2-0. And I hate to say it because I'm a Fulham fan, they made Fulham look like an amateur team. They looked very sharp. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Pochettino's in now. They've sort of been, they've been a shambles, to be honest, the last 12, 18 months. I don't know why they got rid of Tuchel, Phil. He was a bit of a maniac, but very good coach. And then they brought in, they seem to, because he's doing well, Potter from Brighton. He failed. Yep. Then they brought Frank in. Well, Frank's just one of the lads, Lampard, failed. So they've got Pochettino in there, who looks like he's put on a bit of weight. So he hadn't done anything for 18 months, so he's been probably on the Greek islands drinking and eating. But he's come back and he's got them organised, and as you say, he's cleaned the cupboard and he's bought well. Yeah, look, they could be the real deal this year.
I think it's another one of player power. I think for a couple of years, I think Tuchel got thrown out by the players. And I think same thing with Potter, and they wanted the easy ride with Lampard. It was the players running it, and now I think he's got rid of those players who were influencing it in the wrong way. And
I hate that word, player power. I hate it.
Yeah, and you got to get rid of the poison, don't you? But it's we talked about that with slots, didn't we? If you lose the dressing room, if the players don't respect you, But at what point does trouble is, but you've got a guy in charge, but you also got 3 or 4 other 5 coaches. You don't know if they're stabbing in the back. Yeah, or you got management. You got the owners. Exactly. Yeah. So and they're paying the wages at the end of the day. But when you get players bickering and moaning behind them, but just get out there and play. You're getting paid to play. Big money. Do the job or give it up. Well, whatever it is, he seems to have the respect of the dressing room because, boy, they look sharp. They just look like the Chelsea of old. And he's a good manager. He was good at Tottenham. Yeah. And they seem to like him there. So, yeah. Going to be very interesting this year. As Man City, Pep will be reinventing the side and they just looked unbeatable, really. And he's going to have a very strong side. You got Man U on the comeback; they look pretty good. Chelsea are looking pretty good. What's going to be happening with Liverpool and, of course, Newcastle? They've had some big investment in there, and haven't seen much about them squad wise. But they were travelling pretty well towards the end of the season. No, I think they'll drop off Newcastle. I think they've had their day in the summer last year. He hasn't brought in a lot of players. I can't see them. I'm quite interested in what Butts watches because I've been watching United, and whatever television you've been watching, they've not looked good. No, but if you look at the start of the season, when they were, and you look at the prior season and the start of the season, they look shabby, completely shabby. Right. But at times throughout the season, they started to come back and get some decent results. Get some passion onto the field. There's no doubt that coach has turned them around. And, of course, he's now got an off-season to be able to get a few players in there. I just think that, they might not be quite matching the City. Yeah. I forgot. No wonder I'm having to defend. He's got blue all over him, He's got a blue shirt on, green jumper. But they're not quite at that level yet, but they're not far. I don't think they're far off. And then you've got Arsenal as well. But, can City be knocked off the top? Are you worried this year, Phil? No. Well, Man United is possibly the biggest club in the world. And that is about time they started delivering. Yeah. But what about Ten Hag's come in there, and he's sort of got rid of Ronaldo. He's got rid of the prima donnas. He's but and as Phil said, I've been watching them. They haven't looked flash, but look, it's pre-season. It doesn't matter. The real stuff starts in 2 or 3 weeks' time. So Arsenal, are they going to get to that height again, or was that just an anomaly? Well, I think they dropped off when Jesus was injured. And I've just read he's been injured again and he's out. Right. So that's another knockback. It's just getting a squad at the strength of City. And I don't think anybody's Chelsea possibly are close, but the rest. Yeah, so Liverpool's not going to be back there? No. I mean, they've lost their core. They've lost 2 or 3 outstanding players. And I really feel as though they've got to start again. I think they'll be lucky to get mid-table. Oh, jeez. How's that? See, if Jesus injured at Arsenal, he's banking on Nketiah. Yeah. But look, young squad at Arsenal. I thought they did well last year, considering. But, it'll be interesting. But, I think, hate to admit it, Phil's probably right. But it's good time for you, isn't it? Watch out for Villa. Aston Villa, I think, would be a dark horse. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Certainly not Luton Town. Nowhere to park. Okay, FIFA Women's World Cup, and it's getting to the knockout stage, and there's only really one round to go. So, what's your thoughts been on it? Great, it's been enjoying it. We've, and certainly as a family, we've sort of every night we're sitting on the couch watching any game, every possible game, every highlight. Some outstanding football. It's sad to see, obviously, New Zealand go out. Yeah.
I think they did as well as they could. I probably would say I would question their preparation after knowing for 10 years they were going to have this opportunity not to have a centre forward or an opportunity of an alternative centre forward, not have a plan 2, a plan B. That was disappointing because I think the country's got behind it. But football-wise, outstanding goals galore, some amazing goals. I was lucky enough in the sweepstake to pick Sweden, so I've spent a lot of time watching Sweden, getting to know them, and they looked fantastic. They're quick, they're strong, they're organised. I think there's a new order, and I'd say Sweden are part of it. Obviously, the Germans are there, the English are there, and I would say the Americans. USA is a disappointment, an old aging team, to be fair.
So just on that, that was my thoughts. Is at one point I was saying, we need to put another striker on because, being a target person up front, Wilkinson, isn't it? Yeah. I just thought that's not what we need. We need some pace. And I was thinking of that Phoenix player that played up for the Phoenix women. And I was thinking, is she not even on the bench?
Well, the thing is,
where was she?
The thing is, you watch a game like that, and I sat there and watched it the other night, and I was looking at Hannah Wilkinson.
Yes.
And like everyone bags her. But what you got to realise is that it wasn't working with her up front against that particular side.
Yep.
Yes. So what do? So what disappointed me was that the coaches made changes, just personnel changes.
Yes.
Why didn't we've got good defenders? Why don't you just go 3 at the back?
Yep.
Throw a blanket over the midfield and get 3 in there and compete and get your 2 quickest wing backs and put the girl Jail, the big tall lass, up front with Wilkinson. So it gives the Swiss defenders something to think about, 2 people to mark instead of 1, because everyone was bagging Hannah Wilkinson, but she was working so hard and not even getting the ball. Then she started dropping into midfield because we were sitting too deep, and there was no way. There was no way we we're going to win that.
But my disappointment was we had that Phoenix player who was scoring bags. I don't know her name. I'm sorry, but bags of goals for the
Jail. Was it? What's her second name?
I don't know.
No, but she was coming through the ranks, and
I think she'd put out right wing or something, wouldn't she? Or...
I don't even know if they put her on.
Yeah, there was nothing different. Same old.
No, there was no plan B or C. It was just sort of like they had 2 formation, 4-4-2, 4-3-3. It doesn't really matter, but they could have gone 3-5-2, but you needed 2 up top. And the other thing that disappointed me, we were getting free kicks on the halfway line. It was 0-0. We needed to score. Gill gets it down, passes backwards. Why don't you
just get it up there?
Just bomb one in the box.
Anything can happen.
Anything. You get a toe poke, boom, it's in the back of the net. But there was none of that. We looked like we wanted to be like all the other sides and just keep possession. At the end of the day, it's all about scoring goals. How you get them, it doesn't really matter. So
okay, let's quickly go through.
Fantastic. They've done well.
Off the top of our heads, quick fire: Switzerland and Spain. Hard to call.
Yeah, that's penalties there, son, all over. Switzerland quite good at the back.
Spain.
Netherlands and South Africa.
Oh, Netherlands. They could be the winners. They're great.
Yeah, they look good, didn't they? Japan versus Norway. Japan looked pretty good, didn't they?
Japan.
Well, they were paying $21 last week. Now they're down to about $9. I know Matt Jones has got money on them, so... Yeah, the only problem I think with the Japanese, bit like their men's side, when it gets to the big games, they tend to get out muscled a wee bit. But they're very nippy.
Sweden versus United States. Oh, sweepstake. You'd have to pick them, wouldn't you?
You're going to go for Sweden.
I think Sweden.
Do you think USA just not quite put it together yet, and it's going to come? I mean, they look good. They just can't get the ball in the back of the net.
Well, I don't think they look that good, to be honest. Morgan's done nothing. They look quite strong in midfield, but no, I think the Swedes look well organised.
England, Nigeria.
England.
Yeah. Jamaica still looking for an opponent.
It could be Colombia. They could play Colombia there.
Australia and Denmark. Well, geez, didn't Australia look good? They played well against Canada, didn't they?
Yeah.
You'd pick them at home.
Yeah, Denmark are weak. Yeah, they're probably the weakest team.
And then France looking for a partner as well.
Yeah.
So, that's coming to the gritty end.
Great tournament.
You're with Football Focus, brought to you by ALH, your recruitment partner on Bridge Street, Nelson. Visit ALH.NZ. Our very special guest is Phil Thompson, President of FC Nelson. And, well, we know where you're from, mate.
Yeah.
Man City, man through and through, the blue shirts.
Are you from Manchester?
No, I'll tell you my life story. I'm going to tell you my life story. Now, I lived in Manchester about 10, 12 years, went to college there, and arrived in Manchester when United were very strong and City was certainly not. And one of my undermining reasons for coming to New Zealand was actually United winning the treble and City being relegated into the second division.
You bolted out of town.
Is that what you could live with it?
I walked into the real estate, the travel agent, and said, "Please, just get me ticket out of here." It's not going to get any better.
Oh dear!
But yeah, it's. I tell you what, it's probably the best thing I ever did. Move out to New Zealand.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Yeah.
Well, before that move, so where do you actually hail from?
Little place called Epworth, a village in Lincolnshire, which, if you know your geography, between Doncaster and Scunthorpe. Grew up there. Football, to be fair, was probably my third choice, and definitely in the house. Cricket and football, cricket and rugby were the dominant parts.
Wow! Right.
As I find it quite interesting about kids and workloads. So we'd play rugby on the Saturday morning. You go and watch football on the Saturday afternoon. You'd get up in the morning and play football on a Sunday morning, and then you go and play cricket, the cricket nets in the afternoon. That's what you did. We'd certainly play for pub teams. There's 14, 15-year-olds on a Sunday morning. So that's essentially my sporting start. Cricket became probably more dominant and rugby became more dominant. Moved over to Manchester, carried on playing cricket. Lucky enough to get a job there, stayed in Manchester a long period of time. My mother was a New Zealander. That's my connection. That's what got me here. So there was an opportunity to maybe come over and have a look. Came over here, let's say 99, 2000, running away from Manchester City. Moved to Wellington. Tried to play a couple of games of rugby in Wellington. To be fair, it scared the bejesus out of me. I was in a wee huddle before the game, and the guys all wanted to know who was playing number 10. And I think he was called House, who was the captain. And he turned around and he said, "Hey, Phil's going to play number 10. And they all looked a bit confused because I'd been played out on the wing. And I was a bit confused. And he said, no, this is the idea. We're playing Avalon, and they're all these Fijians, and they always like to smash the number 10. So they'll run at the number 10. There'll be all the space behind him. And I think about 60 minutes into the game, I look around and there's a little first aid guy strapping his finger. And I thought, he's the only guy who's going to keep me alive unless I walk off the pitch. So I just walked off the pitch, got in my car and went home.
So what club was that?
That was Wellington Club.
Wellington Rugby Club.
Yeah.
Murray Mix did.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Keith Quinn.
And my very long sort of connection with it, my grandfather had been captain of Wellington in 1940. So
wow. How's that?
So it was a homecoming, and there were a couple of very old guys.
Not for long though.
No, right. I've not got a picture on the wall, to be fair. There's probably a Band-Aid named after me, but that's about it. And then sort of worried, what was I going to do for a weekend? And at following weekend, sat in the changing rooms. The team who were getting changed after a mates game said they were short of a player, and that was Miramar Rangers' Masters team.
Oh yeah.
And it was that, I think that would probably be the highest standard of football I've ever played. It was this amazing Masters group of guys, all from a lot from Scotland and the north of England, who were
good players.
Great, and what a league they were playing. They were playing teams that they played for 10 years, and there was such competition. It was fabulous. So that got me back. That got me into football, to be fair.
So how'd you end up in Nelson?
Went up to Auckland, played a bit of football, then went up to Auckland with work, and then had two opportunities: either one to go to Qatar, the Middle East, or one to come to Nelson. Spoke to Emma. No, I went to Qatar, got the job, hated it.
Too hot.
Emma, too hot, too dry. No football at the time. This was like 15 years ago. Came back here, and luckily my company at the time I worked for, Racine, had an opportunity down here, so I came down here.
Oh yeah.
And Emma basically bought a ticket that day. She was so rapt we were moving to Nelson.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh cool.
I hadn't ever been here. I hadn't ever been to Nelson. Had no idea.
So where's Emma from?
Wellington. Wellington, born and bred.
You met her in Wellington.
Yes, she was searching for, I don't know, something different, and I turned up.
And you did.
Good on you.
Yeah, there we go. Never went back.
And the rest is history.
Yep. came to, and I'm trying to think where we are now, 2000, 2005, 2004, moved down to Nelson.
So about 20 years you've been here?
The age of my son, I keep working out, the same age as George, about 17 years.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. And that was it. I suppose George, our eldest, had a child here, started to realise what a place it is to bring up kids. And that was it. That's sort of the momentum come from there.
And but the affiliation with football, you more so started with Richmond.
Yeah. Old Trevor Thompson, remember Trevor?
Yes.
He was a painter, and he didn't paint a lot. He just taught football, and he said, right, I'll get you a game. Took me out to Richmond. And oddly enough, started at the bottom. They were sort of, again, back at the Masters and kicking the ball around, and they played a third team game, maybe a second team game, and really enjoyed it. Great group of people out there. There's a bit of a joke around. That was the money time, or just the year or so afterwards was the big money time.
The Whitley.
The Whitley era, they call it.
And that man Simonson, remember that Simonson?
I don't remember the Simonson man.
So I gave Simonson my telephone number. He's still not rung me. Every time I see him, I said, have you lost my number? I said, you ring me. You ever need a player, you ring me. And he never rang me. But there was a training session, like a selection session. And I remember we were out there and the lights were on. And one by one, people were called into the changing rooms. And they were given a little bag and the boots and maybe a bit of money, and you're on the way, you're in the squad. And
you never got back.
Well, it went from 20 down to 50, down to 5, and there was, I reckon, me and Andy Weaver left kicking the ball, and they turned the lights out. That was not a word.
I'm out of here.
He drove off with his bloody limousine with his bodyguard. And then stayed at Richmond, carried on at Richmond, really enjoyed it, up and down, different teams, and funnily enough, ended up playing in the first team. Of all the things, so started at the bottom and then ended up at the first team, and then played with the likes of those English imports.
Joe Green.
No, beyond that.
Beyond that.
Ben Harris.
Ben Harrison. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So who was coaching Richmond then?
At the end, towards the end, Matt Campbell was a bit.
No, that's
but were you Steve Clark? Was it Steve Clark's era?
Clark,
a little bit.
Right.
So great fun, and certainly those English guys, that was a hoot.
Yeah,
playing with those guys, you just give me the ball. Get me the ball and I'll do the rest. It was good fun. So
they call him the janitor.
They do.
Really?
Yeah, because and so I said to Stu Reid, I said, what do they call him, the janitor? Anyway, I don't know who I was playing for. I was playing up front, and I might have been for FC Nelson or United at the time, Masters. Well, I found out, didn't I? Because all of a sudden I was put through, and it was just me and the keeper, and out of the middle of nowhere, the janitor came through. Shush! Just swept me off my feet. That was it, gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because of my rugby upbringing, I apologized to the referee.
He did.
And went back to him. Sorry, ref. The timing was out. That was what it was.
Yeah, apologise to the referee, not to me. Anyway, but some great days at, good club, good family club, isn't it? And,
and then
I enjoyed my time there.
And through that connection, Sean Barker, I don't know if you remember Sean.
Yes.
Sean set up the Loco, and we all had no idea what was going on at FC at the time, and then we became part of FC and had a couple of years in the Loco.
But I suppose that was a little bit of location too, because I remember when I first came back, I was playing for Richmond, but I was living in Nelson, and that travel, when United decided to get a Masters side and then the Loco teams, a lot of those guys living in Nelson decided, well, Guppy Park, Neil Park, that's a lot closer, isn't it? And when you got family and the kids playing.
And I think we had 5 or 6 who had played for the Royal. The year was so before, like Calderbank,
the famous Royal,
and Paddy.
Oh yes, right. That was a good side.
Yeah,
I think we won the league.
Yeah.
So it was, and that was again one of those odd experiences. It was a group of very good footballers, just not quite at the peak of their powers, but it was a great year and a couple of years. Really enjoyed it, and good mates. All of this, I made a lot of good people and made it a lot of good friends through football.
So Loco, you were putting on the boots quite a bit, but probably a little bit less these days, or you still?
Yes.
No?
Well, I'll tell you a story about that in a minute. But
here we go.
Here we go.
Have we got time?
No, it'll be very short. So 45 minutes in on Saturday for I don't know what's the reverse of undefeated, unwinning. Nelson thirds, and we won.
Did you?
3-2 against Richmond.
Just one extra player, Phil Thompson. Was that the difference?
Played deep, held the ball up, 1 touch, 2 touches.
Was it Marcus's team?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm registered, so who knows?
So the comeback's on. So, but where I'm going with here is, I guess, obviously your boys starting to get older, starting to play some football, trying to find that time to make the pitch, but also look after and then all of a sudden one day you find yourself president of FC Nelson. So how did that come about?
Oh, another one of those football people, George Molnar, said to me, he said, "Oh, Phil, come and join the committee. Come on, you'd love it. Come and join the committee." So I came along first week, maybe second month, and he said, "I'd like to announce to everyone I'm about to resign." And Kent Gibbons was
Phil's taking over.
That's right. He said, "This is Phil." Thanks, George. Which I had no idea what I was taking on, to be fair. I hadn't really been that engaged in administration or that area of football. Hadn't really got an idea of how big, but also how important FC Nelson is. And so I think 4 years, maybe 3.5, 4 years.
Basically, the president of the club is the boss of the club.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
And it's an interesting again, rugby background. It had a lot more structure around it, and that wasn't the case. The president was a position. You wore a tie and you wore a blazer, and that was it. But I've loved it. I mean, it's opened up my eyes to so much. And I've changed as a person, I think. I think I was quite an aggressive footballer. Now I kind of look at it and go, I've now got to make these decisions we were talking the other day, Brady and I, and you have to start making decisions for everyone. And you have to protect everyone, and you have to think about the finances of the club, and you have to think about the safety of the kids, and you have to care for the parents. It's a big job, and it's a volunteer's job too. So it puts a bit of pressure on.
Yeah,
but I enjoy it, and even though my wife would like me to offer the opportunity to somebody else, it'll be a half thing.
So, how many years have you been president now, Phil?
I think it's 4, but it feels like maybe 40.
Yeah. So, but you still do enjoy it.
Yeah. And a great committee. Committee's evolved. And we've got 3, or might be at least 3 females on the committee. We've got a representative from the Carini community, representatives from most of the teams, and it's a really buoyant group of people. We put together a strategic plan. We put some real vision in place, and gradually the club's looking good.
So I remember having this conversation with you about, often clubs have aspiration of taking teams to a higher level and all of those kind of things. But one of the things I think it was highlighted to you taking on the position was around community.
Yeah.
Because you've got a really diverse range of teams. You've got the Loco guys, you've got NMIT, you've got the Chins, Carini, all those guys. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Loco boys like to call themselves a pub team, so we might not call them quite a community team. But NMIT's always had this sort of eclectic mix of people arriving, students arriving, ex-students. Old Neil and Paddy, one's Irish, one's American, so you've got a real mix there, a real hotbed. Then on top of that, you had the growing community or the football that was played out at Victory, and I blessed again George, my eldest son George particularly, used to go and kick the ball around down at the park at Victory. And then I started to see the importance of FC and making sure a lot of these kids who are playing non-structured, had no support, some of them didn't have the kit, some of them didn't have boots. What could FC do? Last year had the absolute pleasure of being sort of semi-coach of Carini. I'd say semi-coach because I think we lost 10 games on the trot. So they decided to get Laboo this year. But doing that and seeing how important football is, and that we're not trying to change the way the Carini boys play football or how they're organised, but help them with a bit of a structure of how you have to do it in New Zealand. And that's just been an absolute joy. And when you see and watch them play and the crowd play, and you see the kids who are coming through now, the junior ranks, and then last year managed to get the boys from the Chin community to, in effect, come back to Nelson, who'd been playing out at Richmond. And I think that's been a real big tick for us as a club. In a different group again, sort of identified as refugees, but been here a little longer, a little bit more aggressive. Fabulous footballers again, starting to see the younger players come through. Bridie's had the pleasure of having quite a number of the Chin boys playing in his first team, similarly with the Karini. And on top of that, we've got Nepalese or Bhutanese. We've got an amazing group of Colombians, especially now coming through the age group. It's and the opportunities we have got as a football club to help people, and I'm very strong on it, that we want it to be a very equal environment and a very fair environment. Where we can, we're trying to abolish any talk of words that might seem to be racist or put people down. Just want to lift the club up, because I think FC is pretty close to representing Nelson, which is, as Nick Smith told me, is probably the most diverse city in New Zealand with all these refugees and different populations. I think FC is a replication of that.
Yeah, fantastic. And of course, there's that balance between getting people involved and playing at that level and community, but then also, you got people like PB aspiring for higher honours as well. So you've got that balance as well, trying to see how you can create that pathway.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd like to say, what Bridie's done this year, he's taken a group, he's done many things. He's not only taken a group, brought a group together, but he's brought some young players together. He's used his capability to bring some of the older players in, but he's also mixed, again, going back, there's some different languages there, there's some different cultures. We're talking about keeping a dressing room. This man seems to be a genius at managing to get people to work together as one, and he's created more of a problem. I'd say a year ago, actually at the beginning of the season, we looked, what's our plan? Our plan was probably to get through the year, and now he's knocking on the door saying, come on, let's try and get to the Southern League, which we've got to all look at and that's sort of looking at it from that community club perspective. We've got to make a decision that's good for our members first and foremost, for every single one of our members. It's all part of a plan going forward. We've also got to consider what's good for the region. I think all of those things have got to be lined up when we've got to make a really good decision. But excuse my language, but he's created that opportunity. I do appreciate it, even though I haven't yet said thanks, Bridie. He's done an amazing job.
Yeah, good stuff.
I've created a problem.
No, he is a problem.
Well,
good problem to have.
Well, no, all I'm saying is that, look, I look at Nelson Suburbs, and I just get jealous because they're there. They've got the facilities, they've got the mainland, they've got the women's team. Skippy's done a great job.
He has.
And Gary Hinks, without him.
Absolutely.
So I just think there's room to move, because we feed, I haven't got a problem with players going out there to play, to aspire to a high level. And I just think, well, what we've got now with the Chin and the Karini and the college, we're on board with college. There's an opportunity for us to step up, but it's all dollars and cents. And end of the day, we're not there yet. We haven't won the league. We might not win the league, but it's always me in the back of my mind that I always love to have.
I think you bang on
another team in that environment, and it creates more players that will probably stay instead of going. You could get players back. You don't know who's going to turn up, so it's just. And as I said last week, we years ago when Richmond were in there, they played Suburbs with the Joe Greens, the Ben Wrights, those local derbies, fantastic.
Yeah, big crowds.
So that's I'm just looking at. That's what I look at, and I go, well, it'd be great for football.
So, what are the challenges, Phil? What are you facing going into the next few years for you?
FC Nelson, I think it's using the World Cup to somehow drive real engagement in the female community. I think that's, from a club point of view, I think we've not failed, but I think that's been a weak area. I think if we as a club really want to make a statement, that's an area we've got to get stronger. But TJ today is, well, every day is in the schools doing this school program, which he does. In effect, the club pays for him to do that. It's not funded by Mainland or any community trust. So we're starting, and he's kicking the ball, and there'll be some Hannah Wilkinsons out there at St. Joe's kicking the ball around that hopefully.
Oh, you never know what you find.
Exactly. So
no, he was at Central School yesterday. He's out Horror today.
It's a great thing. So I think that's an area we've really got to work on. I think one of the biggest challenges, and again, in hindsight, I think there was an error in MBF being removed. I think one of the great strengths of having a group that we didn't all agree with, without a doubt, we didn't agree with, it made good governance decisions for the good of football in the region. We quite honestly feel at the moment as a club that we're making the right decisions as an individual club. And I think that's sad. And I don't blame Mainland for what they do. They're so removed. There was a reason MBF was in place. It was there as a filter. It was there as, let's call it, a sub-union, if you want to call it. And it worked. They had good governance, good management. And we got through season after season without very many big issues. And I think that's the biggest challenge we've got as a football club.
And the other thing I look at it, and I look at Trafalgar Park, and I always go on about Trafalgar Park, and I go, I was born and bred here. I spent a lot of time away. I look at Guppy Park. I look at Neil Park. It's still the same it was 30 years ago. But so there has been talk, Victory Square, nothing's changed. So we have been talking as a club, redeveloping what's going on down there. Nelson Rugby Club getting involved.
Yeah.
So, and Phil will tell you that we're heavily involved with the Nelson Rugby Club. They're on a crossroads at their career where they've still got junior teams, but people are playing football these days. Kids are playing football more than rugby. They've only got 2 senior teams, and we use the rugby club rooms quite a bit. They've been good.
Great. Yeah.
So there is talk of maybe something happening down at Neil Park, but also we've got our own club rooms, our own hub, which is
the next project.
That was happening at some stage at Guppy. So there are things happening.
Yeah. So proudest moment so far, playing,
Football
administration, football-wise, apart from Man City?
There's 2 or 3. There was scoring a goal for Richmond against them, I think, Wakefield Masters to win the Masters
Cup.
Cup. Top left-hand corner. I could reenact it here if you want. Okay. I'm not sure he was in goal. There was another great moment scoring past Peter Moot.
Well, that's not an easy feat, is it?
He's about 6'10",
and he was my next door neighbour. I think the proudest moment is the kids. Definitely George and Fred.
Oh, good on
you.
Yeah. They play super football. They've got super mates.
Yeah.
Their lives are around football, but they are so involved in what they do. George does great things with college. Fred seems to play football for any team, anywhere, whenever he can. And somebody said, I saw your boy. I knew it was your boy. He was bouncing a football through the street. And it's like they're sort of flashbacks, those boys. I love them for it. And so every Saturday is a proud day for me. Watch those guys. Yeah. And this is why I got registered. There may be an opportunity to, if he drops George and Freddie gets dispensation, maybe we can all play one game together.
Yes, that's true.
That would be.
Well, there might be a couple of friendlies coming up, Phil. We could just about look at that. We just hope you don't get injured.
Never know. It might be against Rangers for the title.
Exactly.
I could Phil corner, top corner, top corner. Phil Thompson.
Help me the janitor. I'll do the job.
And I think that's what it's all about, because you always remember your football mates, your mates for life, aren't they? And no matter, even if you haven't seen them for a long time, it's those times you spent together, playing together, and you always remember them, and you've always got. So the great thing about this podcast is getting some of our guests in, like we had Slotsy in, and these two being able to talk about old times. And I went to walking football on Wednesday. Stu taught me into it, and I know you boys still think you can sprint.
No.
But it was fantastic.
I've heard good things about it.
I've got to tell you, it was fantastic, because my knees creak and they even hurt when I walk, but being able to just get it. And then I'll turn up and there's Greg Pello, there's Rob Ansell, there's Cameron Reid, there's Stu Reid. There's all these guys I played with and against, back in the day. And it was just great to see them and be able to do that again. So it gives you another opportunity to, and I think that's the great thing about for the kids is your mates and the times that you remember and the relationships you grow throughout the ages.
Walking football. Is it Nelson's the first place to actually design it? Is that right?
No. I think Clarkey stole it from Scotland. I think people just used to walk home from the pub and kick a football.
Oh, okay. Sorry, got it wrong.
Because they call it walking football, but in the UK, I saw it on telly, they're still jogging around.
Right.
Because there was the Niners side that brought them out of the pubs, but then they for the guys in their 50s, 60s, 70s. There was a guy there, 69 last night. He didn't look it, but he's 69 years old, and it gives that ability to still get some exercise. But these guys are jogging in the UK. Apparently, Stewie tells me there's a Brisbane team going to bring over a mixed and a masters side over to Nelson. So, and presumably there's a Worlds, and apparently they have selections in England and all sorts of things.
I don't know if the listeners are that interested in walking football, are they? To be fair.
He'll be there one day. He'll be there. He'll be there.
Well, I walked on Saturday. Futsal's the other thing that I went down on Monday and watched the guys, futsal, and Rodrigo runs it. It's, again, just people having fun, and no real rules, no referees, just fun.
Just playing football.
And I think keep going back to what we're trying to forget, even FC Nelson being a community club as a sport. It's such an important thing to keep the community together. We get pulled apart for different things, and we're all busy, but football, futsal, walking football.
And it's all about it's about friendships and relationships, and that's really what you're trying to create.
Subbuteo is the next big thing.
What's that?
Oh, we can talk about that next
Table
week.
soccer.
Table soccer.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And when you get to 60,
and you're having a go at walking football. You don't even move in that, do you? Maybe an arm. Okay. Hey, look, Phil, thank you very much for coming, mate. It's fantastic to have you in. And look, certainly with all the work that you're doing with FC, it's a big club, it's a big organisation. But one of the things about it is that community aspect, and certainly the people that come to settle in the city from overseas and love their football, it gives them a family, which is, I think, just incredible. So well done to you, and
thank you.
And we hope to have you in the future to see how FC's progressing. Thanks, Bridie.
No worries.
Another big one, mate. You still got those challenges.
Well, we're hanging in there.
It's a long road to the title, isn't it?
It's very stressful.
Do you know how Pep feels?
Oh, God. He's all right. He wins every game. Oh no, he wins titles. He wins everything.
And of course, we want to give a special thanks to our show sponsor for this week, Corey Vickers and the crew, ALH, your recruitment partner. Labour Hire. Is that what it stands for? There you go.
Apparently.
Well, we're hoping to have Corey in next week so he can tell us all about it. But he himself has had a pretty good football career and still going, and he thinks he's going to try and grab.
Well, I think if you get him on Sun, you probably need 2 hours.
2 hours. Now, do we know if he's red or blue? And he's a Manchester man.
He's red.
Is he?
He's red.
He's from Lancashire somewhere.
Oh, lucky we didn't have him here this week then, Phil.
I'm pretty sure he's red.
So that's ALH, your recruitment partner on Bridge Street, Nelson. Visit them on ALH.NZ. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back again next week.
Hi there, it's Izzy Whitley from ALH Recruitment. Searching for new people can be a hassle, going through CVs, lack of quality people, and repeating the cycle for months. So forget the hassle with ALH Recruitment. ALH Recruitment makes your job easy. We connect hardworking people with skill sets that best fit your unique business needs, with temporary and permanent opportunities. So just take a deep breath, go to ALH.NZ and let us do the mahi for you. ALH Recruitment. Connect with hardworking people today.
Talk Nelson Radio. It's the Talk of Nelson.